2018, Cumming, Georgia. The air in Forsyth County has turned brittle with the onset of November, carrying the scent of damp earth and woods. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, the lights of a birthday celebration burned late into the night. Tamla Horsford, a 40-year-old mother of 5, known for her vibrant presence and unwavering devotion to her family, stands on a wooden balcony. Below her, the lawn is a dark, featureless void. By morning, the celebration has evaporated, replaced by a forensic stillness. Tamla is found lying in the grass, face down, her body rigid against the morning frost. The authorities will point to the balcony 17 feet above, citing a tragic accident fueled by alcohol. Yet, as the sun rises over the tree line, the physical evidence begins to diverge from the witness accounts, leaving a family to wonder if the truth was left behind in the dark. If you find value in deep-dive investigations into the unexplained corners of true crime, consider subscribing to join our search for clarity. The evening of November 3rd was intended to be a reprieve. Jean Myers was celebrating her 45th birthday with a grown-up sleepover. The itinerary was simple: football, pajamas, and a small circle of friends. Tamla Horsford arrived late, roughly 8:30 p.m., after preparing a meal for her husband and 5 sons. She carried a bottle of tequila, a gift from a recent trip to Mexico. By all accounts, the atmosphere was jovial. Witnesses describe a night of Cards Against Humanity and light-hearted conversation. However, the timeline of the early morning hours of November 4th is where the clarity begins to blur into a series of digital timestamps and conflicting recollections. At 1:47 a.m., the last guest to leave the main floor saw Tamla alone in the living room. Security logs from the home's smart system provide a rhythmic, almost mechanical accounting of what followed. 1:49 a.m., the back door, the access point to the balcony, opens. 1:50 a.m. it closes. At 1:57 a.m., the log registers the door opening once more. There is no record of it ever closing again. For the next 7 hours, the house remained silent, the door left ajar to the cold Georgia night. The discovery occurred at 8:45 a.m. Madeline Lombardi, looking out into the backyard to check the temperature, spotted a figure in Dalmatian print pajamas lying motionless in the grass. The subsequent 911 call, placed by Jose Barrera, described a woman who was stiff and not moving. When the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office arrived, they were met with a scene that felt staged to some and chaotic to others. The initial assessment was straightforward: a fall from the balcony, likely due to intoxication. But as investigators began to map the body's position, the first ripples of inconsistency appeared. While we look closer at these early reports, I'm curious to hear your thoughts based on these initial times. Do you find the security log activity suspicious, or simply the movements of someone restless? Let us know in the comments below. The autopsy conducted by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation revealed a blood alcohol level of 0.24, alongside traces of THC and Xanax. The physical trauma was extensive: a fractured vertebra, a laceration on the heart, a dislocated wrist, and various abrasions on the face and torso. The official ruling was multiple blunt force injuries resulting from an accidental fall. Yet, the positioning of the body remained a point of contention. Jean Myers claimed Tamla's arms were at her sides, like she face-planted, a detail she found hauntingly specific. However, police reports noted the right arm was positioned at a 40-degree angle, suggesting a defensive posture or a movement that didn't align with the witness's burned-in memories. The distance from the railing to the ground was measured. The tequila bottle was found nearly empty, and by February 2019, the case was closed. But for those who knew the supermom from the sidelines of the football field, the conclusion felt like a door being forced shut before everyone had entered the room. The physical environment of the Myers residence on the morning of November 4th presented a series of anomalies that defied a simple narrative of a stumble in the dark. Forensic investigators looked to the balcony, a wooden precipice, 17 feet above the impact site. Under normal conditions, a fall from such a height involves a trajectory influenced by momentum and gravity. Yet, the final resting position of Tamla's body suggested a verticality that troubled independent observers. She lay face down, her legs extended, her toes pointed in a manner that witness Jean Myers described as looking like a faceplant. There was a strange, static quality to the scene, absence of the chaotic displacement usually seen when a body strikes the earth after a fall. The digital footprints left by the home's security system added a layer of mechanical coldness to the mystery. The log shows the back door opening at 1:57 a.m. and never registering a closing event. For 7 hours, the threshold was open. In the basement level, directly below, Jean's aunt was asleep. She claimed to have woken up around 8:30 a.m. and looked out the window. She told investigators she saw the Dalmatian print pajamas and thought she was dreaming, kneeling to pray before finally alerting the household. The delay between the sighting and the 911 call at 8:59 a.m. creates a pocket of unaccounted time, a silence filled only by the rustle of the Georgia pines. Inside the house, the forensic tone of the investigation began to clash with the domestic reality of the party. While police processed the scene, they noted that 2 guests, Tom and Stacy Smith, had already left the residence minutes before the first patrol car arrived. They were called back immediately. Upon their return, it was noted they had already showered and changed their clothes. It detailed that, while potentially mundane, stripped the investigation of immediate forensic integrity regarding their persons. There was also the matter of the good tequila. Tamla had been proud of the bottle, yet witness statements regarding who drank what remained fluid. Some claimed everyone declined. Others noted the bottle was nearly drained by morning. If you find these forensic contradictions as unsettling as we do, please hit the like button to help this investigation reach more people. But further tension emerged from the 911 audio itself. Jose Barrera, while speaking to the dispatcher, mentioned a camera that faced the deck, suggesting the entire incident might have been captured on video. However, as the investigation progressed, the existence or utility of this footage became a point of administrative friction. No video of the fall was ever publicly acknowledged or produced to clarify the physics of Tamla's descent. Instead, the narrative remained tethered to the heavy drinking described by the hosts, a characterization that Tamla's family found incongruent with the woman who had spent her afternoon meticulously prepping meals for her children. The mechanical logs, the changed clothing, and the unrecorded fall created a vacuum of space where the facts were present, but the truth refused to settle. To understand the weight of the silence following that night, one must look at the life that occupied the space before the fall. Tamla Horsford was not merely a guest at a party. She was the logistical engine of a household with 5 sons. Her reputation as a supermom was not an empty title, it was a forensic reality of her daily existence. On the afternoon of November 3rd, while others were beginning to celebrate, Tamla was in her kitchen. She was prepping dinner for her family and breakfast for the following morning, ensuring that her absence would not disrupt the rhythm of her children's lives. This meticulousness, this high level of functioning, creates a stark contrast to the image of the woman described in the final police reports. Those who shared the sidelines with her remember the megaphone and the handmade signs. She was a woman of presence, a person who occupied her environment with intent. When she arrived at the Myers residence at 8:30 p.m., she was entering a social circle bound by the commonality of their children's football team. The grown-up sleepover was a rare departure from her routine. At 12:34 a.m., she initiated a FaceTime call to her husband Leander and her children. It was a moment of connection, a digital bridge back to her primary world. In the grainy glow of the phone screen, she was vibrant, surrounded by the sounds of the party, showing no signs of the tragedy that was less than 90 minutes away. The narrative provided by the witnesses paints a picture of a woman who was the life of the party yet strangely isolated in her final moments. After the cleanup began at 1 a.m., the social fabric of the house began to unravel into separate rooms. Tamla was left in the living room, reportedly wanting to keep the conversation going. At 1:45 a.m., she allegedly told Jean she was going to the balcony to smoke. This is the last recorded interaction, a brief exchange about a cigarette on a cold night. The transition from the warm, light-filled living room to the dark, frost-covered grass is a void that no witness statement has been able to bridge. Her family remains haunted by the superficial abrasions listed in the autopsy, the marks on her forehead, her nose, and her chin. To them, these are not just medical notations. They are a map of a struggle that the official record does not recognize. They see a woman who was careful, a mother who planned every meal, and they cannot reconcile that person with the version of Tamla that purportedly lost her footing so completely. The emotional distance maintained by the official investigation has only served to sharpen the resolve of those she left behind. They are not looking for a narrative of a tragic accident. They are looking for the woman who never would have left her 5 sons without a reason. As the years progressed, the static surrounding the case began to crack, revealing deeper inconsistencies in the administrative and forensic handling of the investigation. In June 2020, an independent review by the Horsford family attorney, Ralph Fernandez, challenged the very physics of the scene. Fernandez highlighted the absence of crime scene photographs of the body before it was moved, a procedural lapse that left the official record reliant on sketches and memories. He pointed to parallel scratches on one of Tamla's arms, marks that he argued were more consistent with a struggle or a forceful grip than a tumble through the air. The metadata of the night began to conflict. While the official timeline placed the fall shortly after 1:57 a.m., the condition of the body by 8:45 a.m. suggested the state of rigor that raised questions about the precise environment of her final hours. The internal stability of the investigating agency was also called into question. In January 2021, a Forsyth County Sheriff's deputy, Mike Christian, resigned following an internal affairs probe. The investigation revealed he had been sharing sensitive, confidential information and crime scene imagery with individuals outside the department. This breach of forensic protocol cast a long, cold shadow over the integrity of the evidence gathered in the early hours of November 4th. Furthermore, the 911 audio contained a mention of a camera facing the deck, yet the public was later told no recording of the fall existed. The disappearance of this potential visual log remains one of the case's most jarring contradictions. In light of these revelations, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation reopened the case in 2020, moving it beyond the local jurisdiction that had initially ruled it an accident. They looked into the conflicting witness statements and the forensic anomalies of the faceplant positioning. Yet, by July 2021, the GBI concluded their secondary probe, stating that the findings did not support criminal charges. The case returned to a state of official dormancy, even as the metadata of the smart home logs and the unexplained physical marks continued to suggest a different sequence of events. We invite you to share your perspective in the comments. Do these procedural lapses point to a systemic failure, or are they merely the unfortunate byproducts of a complex scene? The discovery location itself, the patch of grass beneath the balcony, remains a site of clinical ambiguity. There were no broken branches, no disturbed earth that might indicate a flailing descent. There was only the body, the pointed toes, and the open door 17 feet above. The investigation remains a collection of fragments that refuse to form a cohesive whole. The supermom who prepared breakfast for a morning she would never see is gone, leaving behind a digital log of a door that opened at 1:57 a.m. and remained ajar until the world woke up to find her. The case of Tamla Horsford remains a collection of cold data points and unanswered questions. The 2018 Forsyth County sleepover concluded not with the clarity of a forensic report, but with a lingering, investigative silence. We are left with a series of timestamps: a FaceTime call at 12:34 a.m., a door opening at 1:57 a.m., and a body discovered at 8:45 a.m. The official record points to the balcony and the bottle of tequila, yet the physical evidence, the specific positioning of the limbs, and the parallel marks on the skin to sit uncomfortably alongside the accidental ruling. To look into this case is to stand in that suburban backyard in the pre-dawn cold, staring up at a door left open to the night. If you find value in these deep dives into the shadows of the justice system, consider subscribing to support our ongoing work. The state of Georgia has closed its files, but for a family in Cumming, the narrative is far from finished. They remain in the quiet space between what was documented and what was felt, waiting for a truth that aligns with a woman they knew. In the end, we are left with the haunting image of a mother who prepared for a tomorrow that never arrived. Some doors are closed by the hand of the law, others simply remain ajar.